What's good? What's good? Welcome back to another episode of Unapologetically Black, Never Broken, Always Empowered. I am Brittany, joined by my lovely co-hosts, Jamal, Shay, and Rich. What's good?
Put some respect on my name, please.
Avatar Shay.
Thank you very much.
I mean, you know how I feel. I'm like, you're lucky I didn't just go off the dome.
you had to think about it.
That's not what I called it. Bless you. Bless you. I guess I should start with how you feeling, Rich.
Oh, I'm good. I'm leaving work right now, which is why I'm in the car. Typically, I would not be doing this, but they called me in late. So I just came in for a little bit, and then I'm heading out. We're hiring some new folk because all the old folks quit. So you know how that be.
He's like that.
I'll be on the opposite side of the quit.
He is that guy.
I mean, I will quit. Don't get it twisted. Richard does not give 2-week notices. I will just quit, and you not even know it. You know, you notice it when I'm just not at work.
You can't get it. No one walks up to you on their job and goes, you know, in 2 weeks I'm gonna let you go. So I advise you to start looking now.
Nope. They sure don't. So guess what? I'm not gonna give you 2 weeks before I leave this motherfucker. As a matter of fact, you be lucky if I come in that day. I might not even text you. I might just not show up.
Yeah,
motherfuckers be looking for me. How y'all feeling though?
I, on the other hand, I give like notice. Like it might be longer than 2 weeks. I might know that on such and such date I will write a letter. I will give appreciation. This is not every job, but it's most.
Yeah, not every job. Yeah, because
who the fuck does that?
People who work,
want good references
and want references like to get better jobs. I don't do it I don't do it with every job, but certain ones definitely getting a 2 weeks notice, a month notice. I think when I went to the Army, I gave Barnes and Noble a month notice, even though I had no intentions of coming back and working there or like a regular job, but I still did it. One, because, and also I liked my job too. So I felt like, cool. Yeah. That was a job I was not getting fired from. So it didn't matter to me.
Nah, so bad.
I don't know about all that.
That's fine. You know what I'm saying? I mean, but I have a job where I get paid a lot of money, and part of that is because I had good references. They were able to call
none of my jobs have ever called my references.
And there we have it.
You'd have to call my bluff. I tell you, I was the GM of Toys R Us. Like, I used to manage Circuit City. Like, I'm there with it.
But you couldn't give a 30-day notice to something that was closing altogether. Wasn't all them niggas closing? So it didn't really matter if you gave a 30-day notice.
I mean, with a job like that. I mean, I worked at Hollywood Video and just stopped going one day. I mean, it doesn't matter with those types of jobs. That's why we're saying with certain jobs, you might want to do right by them.
Yeah, when you're not trying to burn those bridges. But yeah, overall, everything over here has been fine. For the most part, I mean, life's been lifing, but I don't have anything to really talk about in regards to that.
Started school.
Oh yeah, Snugs did start school yesterday.
We've been talking about Snuggles going to school for 3 weeks.
But it's official, so he went to daycare and now he's actually in pre-K. So
he's actually learning. He started his actual journey in the school. So the first day we dropped him off, it was all moms. Today we went back, it was all moms in the morning. By the time we came back, it was all dads. But
it was as if they dragged their significant others along, because they didn't, them niggas didn't know, they didn't want to be there. But because Jamal was there for every single one, now it's oh, you gonna make them come.
Yeah,
that shit was funny.
Yeah, nobody actually ever wants to be there. This is a waste of time. But we go anyway just to show support.
But anywho, jumping into today's episode. So today's episode is about religion. And I think that it's going to be a great conversation because we have more or less 4 different viewpoints on the topic. So I guess jumping into it, we can kind of talk about what our personal beliefs are. And I'll start because I'm talking. So I personally would identify most with being agnostic. So I believe in some form of higher power. I feel like most religions are telling the same stories with different names. So who am I to say that one is more right or more whatever than the other? Generally, I would say like I'm more spiritual than religious. And in times where I feel like I'm praying or reaching out, it's to like my mom. It's to my ancestors more than it is to God. And I haven't been to church since I was a kid, like regularly. I'll go to church with somebody, but that's about it. Our kids, like Snuggles, has never been to church. Snuggles does not know who Jesus is. As far as like holidays go, we celebrate purely for commercial enjoyment. For the good childhood memories. That's about it. So yeah, that's my point of view when it comes to this topic. So I don't want to y'all.
So yeah, I would say I was definitely raised Baptist, born and raised that way. I will say that I feel like that is my genuine belief, but mainly because of the environment that I grew up in, with it being mainly what I know. So I've always had the mentality of I'd rather believe and then die and find out that it's not true than to live like it's not true and then die and find out that it is true. And you be like, oh, yeah, I mean, but it's just that's just how I've seen it. I don't ever talk, but I think there's a difference, right, between like what I call normal Christians and then like extremists. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of people dislike extremists or extreme Christians. You got to wear your dress all the way down to your ankles. Don't do that. If not, you're going to go to hell. If you got tattoos, you're going to hell. I think that's very extreme. And then of course, because a lot of Christians get a lot of bad rap, just genuinely because a lot of people do dumb stuff, when it comes to tithes and offering, and pastors stealing money, a lot of mega churches. How can you say you Christian and you got, and you driving a Rolls Royce while everyone else is driving, a Toyota Camry? So I understand why people question it a lot. I don't have the answers to all of that, so don't ask me. I don't know why the preacher's driving a Bentley and I'm not. I just know that that's what he's doing and I'm not. So that's just I've just believed in Christ for as long as I can remember. And it's just kind of one of those things where that's just my belief system because that's what I was raised with.
Yeah, I will also say I was raised Catholic. So to speak to your being raised, I was raised Catholic, but as an adult, I've chosen this to be agnostic.
Yeah, I don't push going to church on my kids. My kids go to church because with their mom and stuff, and so they know about it. And Izzy knows about it as well. We go to church. But I've never pushed it on them mainly because of how much I went myself as a kid. And when I say I went every day, like every day, different reason to be there. Summer vacation, like when you think that you can just get away from it, nope. Summer school vacation, we in church. Saturdays for choir rehearsal, Sundays for actual church all day. Monday Bible study, Tuesday this, Wednesday that, Thursday. It was crazy. So I kind of died back as an adult because I was like, man, I'm kind of burnt out on going. And then I feel like we there all day and I got other stuff to do. But that's been my life.
So
what about you, Jamal? Even though I'm pretty sure I know what your answer is.
Growing up, I went to church like 3 times a week. It was terrible. Because I would always like an inquisitive kid and I'd ask questions and no one really had an answer for those questions. Like, why do you suffer? Why does this happen? Why is this happening? We're dinosaurs in the Bible. And no one knew how to answer this. And I said, if you don't know how to answer this, you got a bigger house than I do. Your car, like I've seen the pastor, because the long story short, the pastor was my cousin's grandmother. My aunt married the pastor's son, so it was a lot. But I watched the scam happen in front of my face, and it was hard to like deny that people be like, oh, well, you know, churches be scamming. I seen it. If I see you scamming and I see you scheming and you can't answer my questions, this doesn't necessarily point me toward religion. So I said, nah, dog, I'm out. And somewhere along the way, someone called me an atheist. I think that was sometime last week when my wife said that. But
I said the views you were sharing.
So it wasn't someone, nigga. Your wife called you an atheist. It wasn't someone, nigga. It was your wife.
Wasn't gonna call her out on Cam, but
I mean, if they listened to last week, they.
What you mean you wasn't? You did.
Anyway, I wasn't gonna call my wife out as I'm trying to get some booty tonight. But yeah, me and religion never really matched. Like I believe in science and what I can actually prove. And like when you tell me a story and I can't actually back it up, it makes it sound like, why are we doing this? That's all you
see.
say.
But that's where I kick back at.
Hold
right?
up, let me.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Y'all already skipped over how I was doing this motherfucking week, but I'm good. So we know.
Oh.
But so my background, if it's one thing that I have a lot of information in my little ass head about, it is about religion and spirituality and science, because they are not devoid of each other. I will give y'all background, sort of how I grew up. I grew up as a Christian, Baptist, but we were kind of loose with it. We ain't really like there are people in my family who are like Jehovah's Witnesses. My grandfather was Catholic, supposedly. I found this out like a year or so ago. But we weren't like, we went to Sunday school and like vacation Bible school and stuff, but it was like more so my mother could like get us out the house and not like you need to know the Bible kind of thing. When I was, I want to say around 18, I decided to, me and my brother, me and my friend group, we had one friend, we call him Pastor, named Oz or whatever. He was doing youth ministry. And so at some point through going to church and just sitting in his youth ministry, me and my brother, we decided to get saved. So we did the whole save thing. And at one point I was like a mad, devout Christian. Now I wouldn't say that I was an extremist, but I was definitely like reading my Bible and, or trying to at the time. I was listening to the Bible app a lot and trying to just get into it mostly because I was at a real low point in my life. And so, yeah, I just, because it was the only thing I knew and I was being told that I would be saved and all of my problems would go away if I just devote myself to Jesus Christ. That's what I did. As I got older, 2017, I basically got introduced to who is now my godmother, because I wanted to transition from female to male. And my therapist was like, hold up, before you do this, I need you to talk to two women. So these two were her, like, I guess, like spiritual advisors. Both of them was like, before you do this, you need to go through this process. And it just so happens that one of them had the actual process here in DC, in the DC area. The other one was out in California. I went through the process. It was a 9-month long process. And it was like a complete spiritual, emotional, physical overhaul. I had lost 60 pounds. I learned so much about myself and about how I interact with what we call the divine. Flash forward to now, I practice Ifa. One would call it a religion. It contains religion. It is not a religion. and I am a studier of all types of religion. I know a lot about Islam. I know a lot about Ifa. I know a lot about Christianity. I know a lot about and the different sects within Christianity and where their beliefs delineate. We can talk about Buddhism. We can talk about anything, because up until maybe this year, everything on my iPad, on my YouTube, I got this mega folder that has just thousands of books, most of them, and in my house, most of them are just related to spirituality and religious studies. It is something that I've been very passionate about within my life, to the point where I even listen to atheists speak, like actual atheists, because I wouldn't consider you an actual atheist, Jamal. Just no shade.
And I never actually called. I said it's giving the idea. You know what I mean? Like,
okay, got you. So yeah, this is a topic that I enjoy, and I told Brittany beforehand that I'm probably gonna be somebody that y'all gonna feel like you don't know where I land, because I'll correct people about Christianity and also shit talk Christianity. You know what I'm saying? Like, because facts are facts. You know what I mean? And I think I've invested like a lot of just one place I invested in was religion and understanding spirituality. And there's still so much to uncover about it, to be frank. So I don't know everything. I'm not even trying to set myself up like that, but I know a whole lot more than most people. I'll say that.
Well, he's back.
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah.
So that was my spiel.
Ah, damn it! I missed most of it.
I mean, basically, I was just saying that studying religion.
No. He gonna have to watch it on the playback.
So what's the we got a question? What's the question?
Well, I know Rich was he wanted a rebuttal, so I'm just.
I'm not necessarily a rebuttal. So this is the issue that I've always come across, right? When it comes to all three, religion, science, spirituality, my biggest thing is a lot of people say on both ends, like, oh, well, there's a lot of stuff that happens in the Bible that you can't prove. You can't prove this, you can't prove that. And then on the flip side, I argue the same thing for science. I'm like, there's a lot of shit in science that you can't prove, or you don't know why this shit happens. It's just there. Like, you can't see certain shit, but you know it's there.
Yeah.
But you don't ever want to think that on the scientific side, like they don't ever, like, for most people that were like, oh, if I can't see it, it ain't real type of deal, right? Or when he brought up, there's no dinosaurs in the Bible. Like, we don't know that dinosaurs actually exist. All I know is motherfuckers put a puzzle together and called it a dinosaur.
So what it is? So what? What?
What?
Somebody had to classify something.
We don't know who. They put a big ass pyramid together, built them bitches, and said this is a pyramid.
Right. So history is also something. If you study religion and spirituality, science too, you have to by default study history. And just because something is called something doesn't mean it didn't exist during a time where somebody's saying that they can't delineate when it became called something. So I can, to your point, Rich, say that, or both of y'all point in a certain type of way, just because in biblical times they wouldn't have been called dinosaurs. They would have been called whatever the name of that animal would be. What I can't believe is that there was a Tyrannosaurus Rex walking around with people. You know what I mean? Like,
Jesus.
You know what I mean? Like something we call a Tyrannosaurus Rex that had all these features or characteristics of a flesh-eating a reptile thing. Bird that evolved from birds or chickens or whatever the fuck were around while there was people, and there's no record of this thing being around while they were people. And also they're saying that bones that came from these ancient animals existed well before the Bible says. The Bible only goes back 6,000 years. There are fossils and erosion in the pyramids and on the Sphinx. The water there dates back trillions of years. So if somebody wants to believe Christianity from a fundamentalist perspective, they are wrong just by the date.
Yeah, but that's my thing though, is when it comes to that, a lot of these things contradict each other all across the board. Like the time frames just don't align for a lot of things. And so that's why I'm like, I don't know who's right. I wasn't here 6,000 years ago. I have no idea. But if I had to put my money on a bet, I'm not betting on a 30-foot fucking lizard, right? I'm not betting on that. Especially since all recorded history only goes back about 6,000 years.
That's not true. That's not
As
true.
far as recorded history,
that's not true. That's why I just said that they said the erosion on the Sphinx and the pyramids. Only the history you read goes back 6,000 years because you read the Bible.
But what I'm saying is these are all theories from someone else. Someone else told someone else that this is what this is.
No, there's actually like here's the problem. Here's the thing that you will probably have wrong with science is that science has a method to prove things. There are ways to date things back. Now, does that make it 100% everything accurate? No, but a lot of it is. And the human species goes back more than 6,000 years. I'm just gonna put it to you like that. Ancient Egypt goes back farther than 6,000 years, and that is recorded history.
Science is really just trying to piece together what doesn't make sense.
What happened before?
Like, if this doesn't make sense, let's use the scientific method to piece this together and see.
Right, but what I'm saying from somebody like me is what I guess what a lot of people would be thinking is a scientific method was given to you by another man, and so you naturally believe what he said.
So you believe a book that was essentially written,
I'm saying is they're the same thing. The same way you just believe that what another man told you that E plus fucking MC squared equals this, he just told you that and you believed it. It's the same way a lot of guys say, well, this guy named Peter told you that this happened and this shit happens.
Yeah,
the scientific method can be tested.
It can be tested. That's the difference is that it can be. So that's just like saying, that's just like before there was math, there was numbers. There just was, but people didn't know there was numbers. But at some point, somebody said, if I put this thing and this thing together, it becomes double that. Now we have math, and we can actually keep testing that over and over again. That is a part of the scientific method. You cannot test. And this people would hear me and think that I guess this is where I cross into atheism land is that you can't test spirituality. You just can't. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the fact that I can't test spirituality because I'm not trying to. What we call atoms and all of that shit. I think maybe what you missed, what I said was spirituality, religion, and science are not devoid of one another. They actually are a triad.
Triangle. Yeah, I would say that. I would agree with that. That they're more of a triangle. But I mean, like I said, for me, all of this shit is just believing what someone else told you. For a lot of it, it's just believing what someone else told you. Outside of things that you can maybe test or things that you would know on your level. I don't understand atoms. There are a lot of people that don't understand atoms. And so therefore I can't test a fucking electron. I can't. I don't know them. So that's.
And no, I actually agree with you. My personal belief is that I try not to hold too many beliefs that I personally cannot verify. So I will say, I actually don't know, like personally don't know this thing, but this book says XYZ, history says XYZ, science says XYZ, but me personally, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, not to sound ignorant, but as far back as slavery, the only reason why I know that existed is because my grandmother lives, who grew up, and she tells me her childhood. Like, and that's the only reason why I know it is because the person that somewhat, or not slavery, but like segregation, the only reason why I know that existed, that happened, is because the person that lived it was there. That's the only reason why I know it. But I can't put it past, say, 75 years from now, when no one that lived through segregation is alive, outside of just people telling their story. If those kids say, well, shit, I don't know anybody that's ever done that. Like my great-grandparents, they didn't live through that because it was X amount of years ago.
But that's how someone's going to say about the quarantine, because COVID came and went, and no one's going to remember or be able to tell how it happened, because you won't be able to explain 60 years from now.
Shit, we here now and nobody can explain how.
I think so. I mean, we getting off topic, but movies and TV exist, and I don't think they were going to stop. And if you understand how the mind interprets information, then there's no way that even if you didn't have somebody who personally experienced slavery, there's subconsciously you would still believe in it because there's so much media put out about it.
I believe, with the
tells you
inflation, a lot of stuff.
Texas school system failed them.
Well, I mean, in general, like, and that's kind of where, we'll get back on topic, but that's where like the importance in certain aspects of like the whole CRT conversation is like once they start teaching it and there is no folktale, it will just be movies and media and the information you can find on your own, and a lot of people don't do that research.
Don't do that research either.
Who should drive what religion? Not necessarily what it is, but who should teach it?
I think that
because we've taken it out of schools.
I think that there's a number of topics that should be taught by the parents. That should be taught by
religion
parents.
Is out of schools.
I think that there are a number of topics that they're teaching in school and should be taken out of school that should be taught, that should be self-taught by your homestead, because that is who is technically in charge of you.
Yeah, your health class should be taught at home. Health class shouldn't be something that you go through necessarily in school.
Be more specific when you talk about that.
So, certain parts of health class can be taught at home, and certain parts of like the nutritional part of what they teach you in school is more helpful.
Look, I agree with you, and I hate to cut you off, baby. But I know some of these people having kids, and some things should not be taught.
And that's the caveat, is that
because if we're talking sex,
here's the thing. Here's the caveat is that some people, if we had a system where this was happening for a long time, sure. I also don't think that it's appropriate for teachers to be teaching some of this stuff either. I mean, just because you're a teacher does not mean
they taught it.
What?
So the Roman Empire taught it for a long time.
Huh?
The Roman Empire taught it for a very long time.
It's there's a lot of problems either way. You know what I mean? There's problems either way.
Yeah. But I mean, as far as like teaching religion goes, like I said, was raised Catholic. I went to Catholic school most of my life up until my 12th grade of high school. I transferred to public school in my 12th grade year.
Very sad.
Yeah. But I have been in Catholic school all of my life. In religion, I mean, that was class you took.
It was a class. Yeah, it's a class.
I mean, but when you go to a Catholic school, wouldn't it, like, one would assume that religion would be taught there? It's beyond just taught though. You gotta go to mass. You gotta go to mass on days that are not Sunday. Like
exactly.
Like it's. I mean, you go to a culture school. That's what that is. You know what I'm saying? Like religion is a class that you take for real.
Yeah, it's actual class.
You do morning prayer. You do closing prayer.
Mm-hmm. So my Spanish class, I learned how to say the Our Father in Spanish.
Yeah,
the Hail Mary in Spanish. Yeah. Like it's very all entwined in your education, and I think much like you going, Rich, like you said, going to church every day of the week for whatever thing, it burns you the fuck out. Like I think in general, as parents, it is our job to teach morality to our children and, you know, what's right and what's wrong.
That was going to be my question. Who determines, and this would be more for Jamal, who determines what morality is? What someone's morals and ethics should be?
Morality is inherently subjective. We all have some things through socialization and nurture, and maybe even natural that we agree is wrong. But here's the thing. I was going to get graphic. But so here's an example. If you see me punch an old lady in the mouth, right? What's your response to that?
Yeah.
Why did you
shit? She punched the old lady.
Right. Well, y'all laughing and shit, but there's people that's going to be like, that's wrong of you to do that, right? But if I say
more simple, a man hitting her.
Right, but right. So something like that, a man hitting a woman, right?
Right.
People would be like, "That's wrong." But if that woman just killed his mother, then your moral stance about that changes. So morality is inherently subjective. We just have some things that we all agree that whether through nature or nurture or socialization that it is wrong. But there are people every day that defy that thing. that say they
My question
whether you think it's wrong or not.
My question would be is how do we base what's wrong and what's not? Because if I'm stealing something because I'm hungry, right? I'm still wrong under the letter of the law because I stole something.
Mm-hmm.
But what determined that stealing was wrong to begin with?
The law and
the law.
and religion determined what is wrong. So when we was having that conversation with Brad and I started talking about rights versus legality and all that stuff, there are universal laws and none of them have to do with whether stealing is right or wrong. Mm-hmm. It's stuff like what you reap you sow. Like those axioms, gender exists. You know what I'm saying? Everything, things about duality and polarity. Those are universal laws. They even go into the realm of like science. Science has these same Newton's laws, and you know what goes up must come down. All that kind of stuff are built off of these axioms. What religion then does is sort of take those baseline things and say, well, we flipping those on his head and putting more, injecting a little more rules and language into them. And through socialization, you get a certain idea of morality. If all of us were raised Christian in some capacity, then all of us have a baseline of the same morality. If all of us are raised in the United States, all of us have a baseline of morality, of the same morality.
Yeah, we've been following the same rules since generation, the same laws since generation. We know and we've been ingrained what to do and what not to do. So
yeah, and so you just said something too. It's ancestral. This also whether we chose to practice it today or not, or be American or not today, our bloodlines have been practicing certain things for a long time.
But on a larger scale, should morals only be based on, say, the country that you live in? One of the examples was during our Etchy episode in the Trap House was the age of consent. In Japan, it's 14. But here, and depending on the state, it's nowhere near 14, right? Should we call that guy disgusting because he chose to have sex with a 14-year-old and he's maybe born and raised in Japan or from Japan or is a citizen there? Is he classified as a pedophile?
Yeah,
here, absolutely. Here, absolutely, and to us, and that I think I was saying the same thing on the episode with Brad. Like, there's laws in other countries that I think are personally bananas, but I also understand that United States moralities and laws have nothing to do with another country, and sure, I can believe with all my heart that they should change. That does nothing to change that country's beliefs or what they built that thing on. Like nothing.
So kind of like a spin-off of that, as we're talking about laws and religion and how that all kind of works together. Supposedly in the United States, there's a separation of church and state.
There's not.
Supposedly.
There's not.
Supposedly.
Right. Do you think that it is actually possible to run a country with a separation of church and state? And why do we act like there is?
No, because this country was founded
like abortion.
So that's my answer. You can't change it because this country was found that way. I'm talking specifically about this country.
Right.
The country was founded what way?
It was founded and based on religion.
A lot of the people who created the U.S. Constitution? No, was it the Constitution or the amendment? One of them actually said they actually wrote things in there so that religion would not take over, or the government would not take over.
Right. And then the other 5 or 6 guys that were there were like, no, go fuck yourself. Religion is a part of this, which is why they wrote "In God We Trust" on everything, which is why they added. The only difference was they kind of went from being more Catholic to more Protestant type Christian. And then that's when they created like this umbrella term for religion and just started creating all this other stuff.
Whose God were they talking about? That's where I would say.
If I'm correct, and I don't know, if we're going based off of British and European terms, they would be Catholic. So they were talking about whatever gods for a Catholic church. So it would still be Jesus, Mary, other stuff like that.
Mary is a human, but yeah.
I mean, but I'm saying that.
Yeah, I was about to say it's various religions, and the people who founded the country were pretend Christians.
Most people are.
You say what?
Like most people are.
Yeah, Yeah, we're pretend Christians. They were, this is the popular thing. We're going to say this is what we do and not do that thing.
Right. Because at a point in time, the church ran the country.
Yeah, that's a fact.
It was the church that determined this is what's going to happen. You know, if you don't do this, you're going to go to hell. If you don't do it, like the church was the president.
Yeah,
whoever that bishop was.
A lot of scientists. It stopped a lot of science. That's why Leonardo da Vinci created a lot of his inventions in secret. That's why Galileo did a lot of his stuff in secret.
Yeah. Well, that's how you have the Salem witch trials as well. That's how you start burning.
Nah, that was a different thing. But yeah, that's because they controlled it, but they weren't actual witches either.
That's what I'm saying. That's how you. That's how you get
that's what Rich is. I think Rich is getting.
It's because they are doing science, and because you are the church, you believe it is witchcraft, or it goes against what you understand.
Or it's holistic healing, and that's
right. You know, like everyone else died from this disease. How the hell did you two survive? You're witches. Kill them. Well, that didn't help.
Science does bridge that gap that needs to be between what you don't know and what you do. Like sometimes understanding why you didn't die helps save the next person. So like if Brittany's in childbirth and she doesn't die because her nurse used soap and the next nurse didn't, then you need to know that, because now you're saving more people from disease and bacteria. And that's science. That's being able to prove it. That's retracing the scientific method. That's not just praying and hoping that something happens from it.
But
this is where science and religion gonna come together, or spirituality, however you see that thing. Because really, religion, the way most people relate to that word, has some form of institution. But religion in itself is piety in your own beliefs. Mm-hmm. It is relegating your own belief. It just at some point became somebody instituting their own beliefs over people and relegating that.
Exactly.
But soap, they are blessings and herbs and things that go into soap,
right?
From the spiritual aspect of a thing, that form with science is it's hard for me to have certain conversations.
I feel like there are certain things.
It's just really not one or the other. It's just.
I just feel like there's certain things that you can't explain and that you just won't understand.
You won't.
And it's okay to not understand it. The ideals of faith in general, right? So not just faith in general. Like don't exclude religion or anything like that. I believe that if I work this hard, I will obtain this. Period. I have to believe it in order to do it. And so, and that's not even talking about, you know, if I just pray, he'll answer my prayer. No, I'm saying in general. If you believe you're going to be able to get something and you put in the work and doing it, you have to start with the belief of being able to do it in the first place.
Right. But once you put in that work, do you say, thank God I got this
or do you
award, or do you thank yourself for putting in that work to get?
I think you can do both, because some things happen to you that just happens out of nowhere. And it's happened, right? Where I'm like, dang, honestly, I have no idea how I'm going to pay this or pay that. And I go to sleep, I wake up, and like out of nowhere, I got $2,000 in my account. But it's from a physical place. It's not like just a mysterious question mark, 2,000. It's like, oh, hey, the VA sent your book stipend. Here's $2,000. And I got to call them like, hey, I didn't know I was supposed to get that. They were like, oh, yeah, you know, we did X, Y, and Z. So that's how you got that. You know what I'm saying? But
so I think the flaw between both I'm going to say sides of this argument, even though it's not really an argument, but is that what one chooses to fill in the reason why this thing is happening for. Right? Because some people could say that thing is the law of attraction that has nothing to do with God. Mm-hmm. Some people will even say that the fact that it was able to be manifested came from God or the creator or the whatever. Some people will say, you know what I'm saying? Some other
the energy into the universe,
or science will say you cannot prove that was God. Therefore,
it was a coincidence.
It was that money was supposed to come, whether you believed it was going to come or not. It was on its way. Therefore, that doesn't mean God, right? Or creator or whatever anybody chooses to believe. Yeah, I think that it's how you choose to fill in the blank.
The how or the why.
Yeah, and
Right. For somebody, that's their lucky day, and for you, you just became blessed, and it's really just in how you see that.
but see, luck and bless will be two sides of the same
How do
coin,
you
though.
stay blessed and not believe in
I
anything?
don't stay blessed though.
You just said it.
No,
I'm
he's saying like to one person they would say I
Oh,
blessed, and to someone
okay.
else would say it was luck or
right.
you know
'Cause
whatever.
For me, I would say that's luck. Like this is my lucky day.
But isn't luck and blessed just damn near synonyms?
I just said they two sides of the same coin. It's just,
If I say I'm lucky, I'm saying I'm blessed.
yeah.
Because
in order to be lucky, something has to bestow luck upon you.
Yeah.
So
it doesn't.
Right.
I mean, that's why it's luck. It literally just happens randomly.
I think when people say though, in general, like from a societal point of view, the word blessed has religious undertones versus luck doesn't necessarily have
no
the same
facts. But what I'm pointing out, and I think Rich, is that it's that subconsciously people are still giving it to what can be perceived as a superstition.
Yeah,
Right.
It's the same thing. So like if you hit the lottery, are you really lucky that you hit the lottery? No, you played the lottery and your numbers were the one that hit. So you aren't lucky. You just chose it.
Statistically, it was your turn.
Yeah.
Like,
But most people would most people would say that they were lucky.
right
Or blessed.
or blessed.
or blessed. God bless you.
To be able to do this.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
yeah, from a scientific.
Never really answered her question.
Besides
As far as church
science,
and state, as the way they work, I don't think this country will ever be able to separate the two. I believe this country will always choose, if they have to pick which one is going to rule, they're going to go with church because that's what's going to fuel their decision making for the state.
I think this is an oversimplification because it's not this country, it's people. It's like that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, people need
like,
a cause for why they do something, and so religion will always be that cause.
So like or even on the back end of that, you still have people who have personal beliefs that believe a thing, whether it's their religious belief or not, they believe something is right or wrong, and they're going to use their power or whatever to dictate that outcome. And whether you feel like it's right or wrong, that's just what people want. People are as altruistic as we try to be. We are self-motivated and out for our self-interest and self-survival, and however we see that. And a lot of people believe that by dictating other people's behaviors, that ensures their survival or what is right.
Yeah. And it's just those that are in charge, those are the ones that we're going to naturally have to follow legally because they're the ones that make the rules. And since they make the rules based off of their religion, that's how they're going to run them. You know, I honestly feel like I don't ever think America will elect a person who's not Catholic Christian, right? Between the two. I don't think America will ever elect them as the president, right? So I don't think you can say I'm openly an atheist or I'm openly, non-religion, and then America elects you to presidency. Because most of American citizens will say, we are a religion. What drives you? A religion or something has to drive you. And if it's not our religion, then we won't accept you as president.
It's more so about what it looks like, the optics.
Right.
Right, because you're the face of the country.
Yeah,
even if you truly don't believe it, you'll lie.
Yeah. A lot of presidents actually don't.
Openly lying, like, oh yeah, I'm Christian, so that you can be elected.
It's because what's assigned to being Christian is what we project that means, and it varies for different people. But as a general statement, people associate more positive things than they do negative things.
Yeah, and that's funny because for me, as someone who has disassociated from Christianity, Catholic Church, and all of that, it is the negative things that stand out the most. It's the weaponizing of the Bible. It's in the Catholic Church, the pedophilia that runs so rampant.
And Jews have to deal with a lot of that too.
And then that's the other thing. Speaking of Judaism, the entire Christianity is based off of the works of a Jewish man. So it's like, how is Christianity better than Judaism if Jesus was Jewish? Like, these are just questions I have.
So that's like always a weird little it's an infighting thing. The three Abrahamic faiths are going back and forth about who's right or who is more right or who is whatever, right? And what the reality of it is, y'all are a continuation story, my nigga. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you.
The next chapter.
I see. I the way I categorize it, at least in my head, is I've seen both ends. I've seen good people do really good things.
Yeah,
be normal. And like, yes, I'm a Christian, but I'm a normal person. I understand how humans work and blah, blah, blah. And they bless you and they do normal stuff. I've seen guys on the opposite end where they scam their way through the entire church because they're just a shitty person in general. I don't think that should be relegated just to religion.
No, it's not. It's a people. That's
what I'm saying. But I would never be like, oh man, like the Catholic Church is just a shitty thing. No, I'm like, that person is a shitty person.
Well, so the difference between the Catholic, when we talk about the Catholic Church, though, there is a ruling organization for that. So when the Catholic Church is talked about a little bit different than other religious sects because there is a literal governance within
the Vatican.
The Vatican. So when people are saying the Catholic Church, they're talking about the Vatican and the Pope because at the end of the day, they are the ones signing off on whether this pedophile gets away with a thing or not after they're caught. It's not like that within, Baptist, Southern, right. You know what I'm saying? All the other sects of Christianity is not particularly like that.
Where you get caught saying some shit, or you can say, "Hey, that pastor was scamming," and that pastor be like, "Nah, I wasn't scamming. Mind your business."
Right?
And he just get off with it.
Or that pastor still held to that pastor still held to like regular law.
That pastor, not all pastors. It's that pastor because we've watched pastors go down for scamming. Like, absolutely, there's a whole document on pastors that literally get thrown in jail for 35 years because they were scamming and getting over on churches. So it's not all of them that get away with stuff. It's that one. I've watched pastors keep their church as small as possible and fail because they refuse to grow, because they refuse to take money from the congregation, because they didn't want that stigma put on them that they were doing it, and the church failed because no one was paying the bills.
And so this is where I will probably be in I would say defense of Christianity or Christians in this sense, is that I think it's people. I think no, like an Ifa, like Nick, they'll like if you go on right now, I promise you, put something related to Orishas on your Instagram, and you will find a priest will be in your inbox telling you need a reading and you need to get shit removed from you, scamming you out your money. Like it's not religion specific. It's people who want to get over will use what they know to get over. Speaking like so, we've been doing Bel Air or whatever, reviewing Bel Air, and we always talk about Jazz is a Muslim in Bel Air. And one thing I always say is like, I'm not saying he's not a real Muslim because that's what he practices, but like as far as like being devout in his on his deen, as they say, nah, because he's doing a lot of stuff that I know that devout Muslims won't touch.
Premarital sex, alcohol, like
it's stuff that like, nah, son, you kind of and it's just people out here that's going. I will say, what gives Christians a bad rap is that y'all be the fucking loudest and be doing dirt and be the loudest. Jews and Muslims mostly stay in a corner. They don't really have a bring people in mentality or tell people they wrong mentality. Like it's more personal kind of thing. Versus like on the streets trying to get people to come in and you need to stop sinning and you need to do this and you need to do that. That's not what they do. So I
think cultures play a part of that as well. The Western culture and how we do things in the States, versus like how they do things in, say, Iraq or Afghanistan, like how the country.
Like I see your point, but there are many Muslims here.
I disagree with your point wholeheartedly because Christianity was pushed onto slaves, right, in order to control them.
I'm talking about like when you're saying like how loud you are and how wrong you are at the same time. That's more of a Western thing to be loud and wrong.
So I get to that point. Yes,
it's not though, because I'm
religion
about
point
to go
of
to
view.
Nigeria. Nigerians come over here all the time and be telling you that ever since they got that Christianity forced up their ass, they tell you need to go to Christ.
Yeah.
Right.
You just need to pray.
Right. It's like the go-to as opposed to just having
it's written in your doctrine that
go out and
well,
spread
one,
the
it
word.
said that you should not actually preach to people who don't want to hear it. I forget the actual verse and like the language of it, but it says you should not preach to people who want to hear it. But it also ingrained in the culture of Christianity is we need to get as many souls saved as possible.
Bring him
so
in.
with that comes
bring them in. If you know any Christians, if you know any lost souls out there, just bring them home. That's how they tell you.
Yeah, I think that one of the most predatory things I think Christians do, or Christianity does, because I can't blame the Christians. They're following what they believe to be true or the right thing to do. But when you look at it from outside of a Christian lens, I think that the fact that y'all convert souls to Christ at people's funerals is predatory as hell. These people are in a state of grief, and you basically telling them that this same thing is going to happen to them if they don't convert to Christ. When it's like you gonna die anyway, my nigga, and it don't just because you convert your soul to Christ don't mean you're not gonna get shot. You know what I'm saying? 2 seconds later, it doesn't mean that. It's predatory. It's manipulative in a state when people are not thinking clearly or straight, and they might even choose it outside of that thing. But I that's a sore spot for me because I remember being at my aunt's funeral and watching my friend be like, do that. He almost spent more time on that than like saying nice things about my aunt.
I'll say I've never had that experience, right? I've never, like, or at least the way it's always been worded, it's never been a go to God or you're gonna die type of thing, right? Because
you're going to hell.
You're going to hell.
But because we know that's gonna happen. We know we're gonna die. Like, it's not go to Jesus or you're gonna get shot. Like we know.
No. It's the repercussions from you getting shot. So it makes people more delineate to that.
Eternal damnation is actually the words that are used.
So, burn in hell.
You deserve the lake of hell, the lake of fire.
You're gonna burn to meet the devil.
They believe.
You said what?
I said that's what they believe. They believe that there is a hell.
Right, but that's a scare tactic.
Yes,
right.
It's also a scare tactic. You believe in hell. You have no proof that hell exists. You even said it yourself. That
was going to be my next question.
This is where my atheism brain starts kicking in, right? Yeah. Because I don't follow religion, right? Even in my study of religion, which I understand is hell is not a physical or metaphysical place. It's not a place. It is a state of mind. First and foremost, but that's beyond. That's a little further along.
Christianity.
You just said yourself that you would rather believe than not believe in case there's a chance. That means you just told me, and you don't know you just told me that you were manipulated into believing something. That you only believe something because you are afraid that there is a chance that you might go to hell.
Yes.
And you're not even sure.
You going to church every Sunday isn't going to stop you from going to hell. I mean, you've already done enough shit in your life.
It's not just the you going to church every Sunday. It's not just the, if you pray, you're going to go to. That's not how that works. It's not just if you pray one time, you're going to go to heaven. You go to church every Sunday, you go to heaven.
Okay, so do you believe that being saved absolves you of your sins that you committed? That guarantees your
from what I've read and been told, someone that genuinely believes in Christ,
professes with their hearts,
confesses with their hearts. They speak, and then they genuinely change their ways. They will be forgiven. That is what I was told. Now I cannot do that and then turn around and go shoot 4 people. And
what if I told you that the salvation prayer and the concept of salvation was added into the Bible well after the Bible was first written? What if I told you that?
So basically the first time you fucked up, that was it. There was no salvation. And that leaves no room for you to be a human being, which is why it's like you have to live up to
but in your own arguments, there is no clause for morality. There's no reason for me to be a good person.
That's why I said
no, but there is a reason, because you're scared of going
no, because when I die, who gives a fuck? It doesn't matter. I can be a shit.
Hold up. I started and said morality is subjective. I don't care what you do. If I don't think you could go to church all the fuck you want to, that don't make you a good person.
Right.
Absolutely not.
Yes, that does not make you a good person. Saving old ladies. Hold up. Let's go back to Bel Air. Will does a whole bunch of good, but he does it for himself. That doesn't make him a good person.
Right.
You doing good to get into heaven does not make you a good person. That actually just makes you opportunistic, and you don't realize it. But you're told that if you do good deeds, you're not doing them of your own fruition. You're doing them to get a result, i.e., you're not a good person. By default, you're not a good person.
Yeah.
Because the concept of what being a good person is, you're doing things selflessly and doing something to get into heaven does not.
It's not
contradicting, but these are the things that people don't actually think about.
Yeah.
We believe that you are put here as a we have your higher self, call your Ori, whatever, something like that. I'm gonna just truncate it. You are here just to experience life. You are here to experience life as a aspect of the divine. That's it. That's it. All this right or wrong, you going to hell, heaven. you want to go somewhere. Even this, you want to go somewhere where your friends and family, these people who you have built a life, you are blood, like your God. This is what you're telling me. Your God created a place where not all these people that he bound you to, that these kids you gave birth to are not guaranteed to get in, and you want to go there and nobody you know could possibly be there, but you telling me that's also paradise. How is it paradise if nobody I fucking love is there?
I believe that that's one of those things we will never understand because it's not something for us to understand.
No, I think it's written plainly. I think God wrote a lot on that, actually.
I think there are planes of things that happen that we cannot explain, nor can I humanly think about, because it will not compute with a human brain. It just will not compute. That's just genuinely what I believe, because then I would then turn around and say, well, I believe there is no reason for me to be a good person at all.
So I just told you there's no.
That's because you're a villain by nature.
Told you that you were a bad guy.
There is a reason to be a good person, right?
What is your reason?
Unto others, like in general, like if I do good for somebody, like I don't
like this belief that y'all think that that there's all there is checks and balances. Period. That's it. Yeah. That's it. That is the reason to be. If there's a reason to be a good person, is if you actually want to experience goodness, you do goodness.
Right.
You could say
don't want people to at you every time.
We've seen people do good things and not experience goodness.
No, but as in, like, if I am
in general,
I'm a good friend to you, Rich, and every time we come around, you're a good friend to me in return, it's because I was good to you. Now, if I was a shitty friend to you, every single time you saw me, you're gonna be like, fuck Brittany.
I mean,
and that's going to be the energy.
But I know people that will continuously be good to you, no matter how shitty you are to them.
Right, and then that goes into what the person's personal motivations for being a quote unquote good person, whatever you describe as a good person or a good friend in this scenario is. I could think Brittany is a shitty friend. Mm-hmm. I could think Brittany is a shitty friend for things that Brittany doesn't even know about, but Brittany thinks she's a good friend. Who determines what's a good friend? Me. Why? Because I am the eye of the beholder. It's the same way everybody's not attractive. There is no such thing as a good person. Definitively, there just isn't.
Right. But
that might suck to some of y'all. I may seem morbid, but
that you deem as selfless, so that you get that same response in return from the people in your life.
Yes. But wouldn't that consider to be opportunistic? You are.
You're
only doing it so that someone does it to you.
If you pay attention
I'm only doing
human nature, we are opportunistic by default. We are like, that's why this thing with religion, you go into history, you go into philosophy, you go into psychology, because you have to understand to some degree how the mind works, not the brain, the mind. Mm-hmm. And like, if you pay attention to the things that we do, we often feel indebted to treat somebody nicely because they treated us nicely. Mm-hmm. Often. Then I said there's some personality traits you can have that might delineate how well you decide to treat somebody, more or less, or if you do, right? But as a general statement about human nature is that, well, if somebody treats me good, I'm gonna treat them good. If somebody instills in you from a very young age that there's a guy in the sky or above the sky, but y'all believe he's in, for the most part, most people talk about him as if he's in the sky.
He's chilling in the clouds.
That he's just in the clouds and you can't see him. But they also tell you he loves you so much, but he created this place that if you do bad things, you're gonna go there, and it sucks to be there.
Once you're there, there's no coming out of being in there.
And once there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, I mean that sucks, and it sounds like a wild story. But for me, it's no better than saying once you leave this place, that's it. There's nothing. You're just emptiness and void.
That's not better for me.
That's what I'm saying. That's no better.
Yeah. I think that people who cannot accept that as a potential truth are a little immature. I'm gonna just be like.
You said that what?
What's happening?
You said they were what?
You said immature.
Oh, I said immature. As a potential truth, not as the truth, as a potential truth. So many people are afraid to die because they don't know what happens next.
Right.
Nothing happens next.
And if you just sit with the fact that maybe nothing happens next, it will just relieve you of a lot of pressure.
Right. I know you don't know, but if you accept that that's what it is, and it's not a heaven, a hell, an in between, a this, that, or the third, you accept it, then there is no drive to have to hear someone tell you about how you should live your life. Or to sit through this 2-hour lecture on what they believe is good,
how you should live.
Right. But I mean, someone had to set a foundation as to what good is. Otherwise, what you would live your life based on how you wanted to do it. I'd live it based on how I want it.
Good, and I do live my life based on.
But no, what I'm saying, if that was the case, then we wouldn't judge people when they do fucked up shit. Because they're living their life the way they
psychology says
they
that
set a foundation when they set the first set of laws, not to kill, not to do certain things, and it was not religion. It was in Babylon when they wrote the I can't remember what it was.
It wasn't in Babylon. It was the first written. It was the 42 negative confessions. This is where the 10 Commandments comes from. And it was what they were doing from these 42 or 44 negative confessions is identifying the fact that you are not the body. You are a soul or mind. What you do here, you are not doing it. So it's a negative confession because it's something like, I will not harm. It's something weird the way they verbiage. And then universal laws come from that. But I just don't. I am saying literally that if you accept the possibility that nothing happens after death, you have a better chance of actually living life because, like Brittany said, you are not beholden to performing. But getting to the point where you can even accept or play around with the idea that nothing happens afterwards, you would need to let go of whatever biases you may have within your religion.
And you just need to learn to let control happen. Shit happens. People die. You will die. And you just don't worry about it. That's how I've lived my life for a very long time.
I mean, but it's not, it's death, but it's the object of hell that a lot of people are battling with.
Why
because they cannot, because no matter how many good deeds people do, they cannot often validate that they deserve heaven. I promise you, somewhere in the back of your head, Rich, you know that by the way that book is read, if you read it cover to cover, that you don't deserve heaven.
No one does.
It clearly states right out front that no one deserves it. No one deserves heaven. You are born into the moment you are born. You are born.
Into so now you live the rest of your life unworthy.
This is the things that y'all don't think about But or you say, or what you're gonna say, or usually what people say is, oh, well, that's just something you can't explain. No, it's written in plain English. It's written right there. Well, it wasn't in plain English before.
Right.
It was written in English, but it's written right there. You were born in sin. There's nothing, you don't deserve it. There's nothing you can do to have it. And yet you strive for it your whole life. But I'm a
biblical standards, you're a bastard from birth. Now figure it out.
All of it is when you believe religion from a fundament, and I keep pointing this out from a fundamentalist perspective, meaning you believe what the words say literally. You are doing this. I believe you're doing a disservice to yourself.
I believe if you take it literal word for word, you are doing it. But if you look at it in maybe some metaphoric ways or something like that, you probably do a little better.
Yeah, but so sometimes you have to have context for what the metaphor is, and a lot of times you don't.
But now different people interpret different meanings.
Right. And that's why people go to church to hear someone else's interpretation of the word. But then you embody their interpretation and don't take the time to actually read and figure it out for yourself, what it means to you.
Most of your Bible stories are not original. So next. It doesn't matter what Pastor Price is interpreted the biblical flood to mean when that story came from other cultures.
Right. And that's the one thing that I kind of stuck to as a child. In I think it was like 8th grade, I had world religions class or some religions. I don't know. They had different names too. It wasn't just religion. But I was taking some religion class and my teacher told me that the Bible is essentially fictional and we're just supposed to take the morals of the story of whatever the story is and take that to heart and heed that.
But my question to you is what makes her right? That made you say, oh, she's telling the truth?
Because the things in the Bible don't make sense to me. If I were to read it, and take it,
the science books doesn't make sense either. But I mean, shit, motherfuckers.
All right, let's do this. Here's something easy.
There's a lot of science that cannot be proven.
How do you, by Old Testament standards, how should you treat a woman?
By Old Testament standards, I have no idea. I've not read the Old Testament. I would be the first one to say I've not read it.
So maybe, and I'm being nice. You should. And not speak right now because you cannot justify treating a woman with respect if we go by Old Testament standards, even in the New Testament.
And your wife, right? You should meet them. If you want sex, she has to give it to you, no question. No, like she has no autonomy of her own body. There's rape, and I mean.
It's terrible.
It's terrible. Yeah, it's probably like
it's actually the worst book for morality I've ever read, if I'm being real with you.
Yeah.
And people make the case that God gave his only begotten
son. Are we only talking about the Old Testament or are we talking about the Old and New Testament?
Oh, I'm talking about the whole thing because there are issues with Jesus Christ himself too. And Christ doesn't, is Christ's last name Rich?
No. Was it Joseph Christ or was it God Christ?
Mary Christ, huh?
No, Christ was not his last name.
What does Christ mean?
Oh, I know.
A lot of Christians do not know what that means. They think that it is a last name or some arbitrary nickname that he just ended up with. Christ actually comes from CRST or CRT from ancient Egypt, which was it means anointed. It was something. It
would make sense because he says he's the anointed child of God, so that would make sense.
Yeah, but it's also so where they say you should take these are fictional stories or things that come from other people. There's proof in the Bible that these stories come from elsewhere. Why do they call him Yahweh?
I don't know.
Are there other gods?
They call him that.
Do other gods exist?
That's a great question because when I read, and I don't have as extensive of studies into other religions. I from my point of view, being agnostic, is that they are speaking of the same divine, the same deity with different names.
You think Ra's?
That's my personal belief. You said what?
You think Ra's God?
I think that the stories are similar.
Mom, I need you to like move your mouth when you talk. All that you just like nah.
So Yahweh actually has a wife named Asherah, and they reference Asherah
I've
in
heard
the
of
Bible.
Asherah. I've heard that name.
Yes, they say the Asherah pose. That's the only thing that they really outside of maybe like a place or things that belong to her. They took her away. They took her out of the Bible.
So we're going more towards Egyptian gods, Greek gods, like what? Which way are we going with this?
Akkadian.
Oh, we say do any of those exist?
Akkadian. So your Bible is built off of, I believe it is Akkadian and Sumerian mythology.
And that's inside the Bible, or is that what someone else said?
So he says, "You should not have any other gods before me." Yeah. Mm-hmm. Why would God notate that there's other gods?
Yeah. Why would he even?
If he is the one and only, if he's the one and only true God.
So the way I would interpret that is in the way of you should not, because you cherish or you pray, adore, and prioritize something. So I can say I adore this cup more than anything. So you should not have any other gods, whether
We're
it's
in the same religion now.
Whether it's a cup, whether it's another person, whether it's another thing, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't have to. I don't think he's being literal, as in there are other gods.
No, but he is, because in
I do not believe it's being that literal.
But he is, because in other parts of the Bible he references he says, "Are ye not gods?" He's talking. He's pissed off. He's pissed off, and he's talking to people. Now people can interpret this as he's talking to you, so either you have to accept that you are a god when he says, "Are ye not gods?" Or you have to accept that he's talking to other entities that are gods in that verse. Look it up. Type in, "Are ye not gods?"
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
That's what I'm doing. Charles, basically in agreement with Rich, said anything you idolize, worship, etc.
is considered a god.
So money.
So this is Psalms 82.
Gluttony.
He stands before the congregation of the mighty. He judged among the gods. How long will you judge unjustly and accept the person of the wicked? Salah. Defend the poor and fatherless, do justice, and afflicted and needy, deliver the poor and needy, rid them out of the hand of the wicked. They not know, neither will they understand. So they know not, neither will they understand. They walk on darkness, and foundations of the earth are out of curse.
Where's Joey when we need him? He would have had that off the dome.
So I agree with you that things that you idolize are 100% can become your god or gods. But in the Bible, Yahweh is talking to other gods.
So the specific verse, the specific verse that you're referring to, it says, "I have said, ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High. But ye shall die like men and fall like one of the princes."
So if hold on. Let's stop.
Okay.
Let's stop, because you just proved my. Brittany, you heard it, right?
I heard it. No, I heard it.
Take your head. You shall fall like men. Who is he talking to if he already said you are gods? And he denoted men.
The gods that are lesser than him.
Exactly. In that pantheon, in the Sumerian pantheon, and your Gurdic text, I think, is the where you get the most of that from, is Yahweh is the strongest and the biggest God. And a lot of the Bible pulled from those stories.
Yeah. And that, once again, circles back to why I'm like, who am I to say that Christianity is better than this, is better than that? Because while other religions idolize other gods, plural, multiple gods, God of the sun, God of this, that verse and other verses essentially denote that maybe those gods do exist, but they're not on his level.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like ego, right? That could be a story of ego and not necessarily the truth. Right. Who am I to say? Which is why I'm like,
Well, I would
let it
say
be what
I
it
wouldn't
is.
say that's one of ego. If you keep reading the passage, it's not one of ego because he said you are children of the Most High God. So even in that, that's not an ego.
You don't hear people saying all these bitches is my sons. Like that doesn't sound like that. Like
That's literally
we're all equal. However,
that's literally
I'm
not
gonna
the same
son
thing.
you.
Because when people say you are my son, they're literally talking about you being
How do
below
you know
them.
that?
It's like
But
children
that-
are below their
that the
parents.
religion-
Parents are not equal.
Other God
Isn't it
children.
supposed to be up to my interpretation? That's literally what you just told me, and I'm interpreting that as you saying, "While we all are gods, I'm better than you. You're below me, and when it's time to die, you're gonna
But
die."
that's if you read just that verse. If you read the following verse, he says you're children of the Most High.
And I'm telling you that can still be.
Yeah.
No, you're
It
my
can
children.
still
Children
be-
and parents are not on the same level.
No, what she's saying is she's saying that
Still
and maybe this is a defense mechanism or something. I don't know. But she's saying that he could be referencing himself in like the third person or second person, one of them people. That's what she's saying. And that's what that's the way one of the people that I follow describe this thing, is that he's referencing himself as you, because he's getting in their ass. No, you my kids. You the kids of the most high God. But whatever. I don't like. There is I'm pointing out these issues within it. Is not necessarily to convert anybody or change anybody's beliefs, but I'm saying that it's a lot in there that you don't know is there, that people don't even know that's literally there, and don't even know that's metaphorically or allegorically there.
Yeah, I would challenge anyone, not just Christians, but anyone in your religious belief, that if all you've done is blindly follow the way you were raised, take time to actually learn what you're talking about. And that's not, that's just to everybody. Like Shay said, read the Bible. Really feel like, get an idea of, is this or is this not something I actually believe? Is this or is this not the way I would treat my wife? Is this not the way whatever the case may be, as you read through it, I challenge you to actually think about what you believe. And that's all. And I'm, like you said, I'm not here to trash any of it. Like I said, I kind of believe in all of it. Just a little bit of everything. And like even in death, I don't necessarily believe in heaven and hell. However, I do believe in a spiritual realm in which, when I'm feeling some type of way or I need some guidance, I'm talking to my mother. I'm reaching out to a spirit that I don't think is in heaven or in hell, but is in a whole separate, state of consciousness that it's one of those things that you can't explain, right, by science. But these are my personal beliefs.
So what two movies, I guess, that can that depict what Brittany is talking about is Soul, the movie by Disney, Soul movie. That's a good little metaphysical movie in a way a lot of people outside of religion understand that the sort of death and birth cycle operate. Yeah. And then another movie that's even deeper than that sort of is this movie called What Dreams May Come with Robin Williams and Cuba Gooding Jr. is in it. But yeah, my closing thought is, I always think this is funny that most people who follow forms of Christianity don't know what angels really look like. They think that they're like these beautiful,
or what Jesus really looks like, because that's not what he looks like, but we just pray into him like him.
Yeah, but see, like at least you get, like, I feel like because it's a human, you get a more accurate depiction, whereas angels have like,
that was like an actual human that
have like eyes and arms everywhere and all types of weird stuff.
The closest we can get to angels is like a cherub, and that's all we will accept as a fat naked baby.
But an anatomical angel, you'd hate that if it popped up in front of you to save you. You'd be like, what the
fucking
fuck
terrified.
Terrified.
But yeah.
You good, Rich? Because I know I pressed you, man.
Did you have more to your...
No, I'm good. Like I said from the very beginning, I'm not the person to like
Rich is still about to go play Kirk Franklin in the morning.
I'm gonna play Kirk Franklin anyway because I like Kirk Franklin as an artist.
Whoa.
It's in his bag. You know, as I got older, I just lived a normal, like, just don't be an asshole to a lot of people, right? Only be an asshole to like certain people.
I think you don't hit that metric.
I am only an asshole to certain people. I am not an asshole to everyone. If I don't know you, I say hi, I say bye. If I know you, I'm most likely an asshole to you. There you go.
Accurate. That sounds right.
You've seen us on Blurred Trap House, you know that's very accurate to who he is.
You know, it all just depends on what is going on. I've seen, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the movie God's Not Dead, but they actually have like an actual debate.
That movie sucks.
Between philosophy and religion, and then they actually debate it.
That movie sucks.
The movie sucks as in like movie-wise, or you think that their topics sucked?
No, I think that what generally most people who I feel like most people who speak to spirituality or Christianity, it's including myself sometimes, when they speak to atheists or people who don't believe, they tend to come from a highly emotional place. When I can do what I just did to you and tell you that and poke holes in your book that says this is the foundation of your your belief or whatever, because I didn't even get to the biggest one that's mad heretical, which is the Jesus didn't really exist.
The Jesus I know didn't exist, or
the Jesus that you're taught in that book didn't physically exist.
No way.
But we don't have time for that.
The Romans absolutely crucified a nigga named Jesus. Now, whether he was the one from the book,
they can't even prove that he was crucified. You can't prove it. But you can't. You literally can't prove it. It is all feelings, and I believe, and this is what. There's only one person in history that ever documented ever meeting a person named Jesus of Nazareth, and his name is Josephus Flavius, and a lot of his writings were actually inaccurate. They were proven to be forgeries. So yeah, it's not a good resource. I mean, if you want to hear people tell you what you already know, what you already believe, sure. And I only know a lot of the stuff that I know is because I went and listened to people who knew things differently than me, and I didn't believe in them at the time, and I got a bunch of information, and then I was like, oh, I got to examine my beliefs.
So when people say do your research, what do they mean by that?
Read your Bible.
No, just in general, because like I typically use Google as a research.
Yeah, that's not the best.
That's not the best. Duck Go or Go Duck is better than Google as far as like not. The problem. I don't tell people to do their research anymore because it doesn't matter what's in front of you. If you have a bias that's strong that you're not ready to let go of, it doesn't matter what you're looking at says. I was gonna tell people, hit me up for resources if you actually want to hear. I have resources from people who grew up in the church more evangelical than you, who are those extremist people who walked away from it. I have audio books right now that I listen to.
Question: when we're looking at people of both top tier levels, both of them obviously know more than me, right? Where one side says no, this is it. The other side says no, this is it. Like, how does a person know which one is right? Right? Because they're both professionals on that level. They both studied their craft on that level. So how do we know? Like,
what I'm trying to say is that you can't. You literally, it really doesn't matter who's right. What's always going to matter to you is who's keeping you psychologically safe.
Mm-hmm.
And until you're ready to cross that boundary where you're no longer psychologically safe and hear and accept some new information or information that may be contrary to what you've always believed or known, etc., you will reject it. It doesn't matter who's right or wrong. It just matters what's going to keep you safe. And that's the problem with having a lot of these conversations with people is that a lot of people go out searching information even if they go listen to people who are different from them, they still go to search and find the same stuff that they came up with. I remember I'm gonna just share this and then I'm gonna stop talking. But I remember when I first started challenging my beliefs, I went weeks and months spinning because I was just confronted with so much that I thought was true that just was not true. Of the world, when you start really breaking down those blocks of things that you believe that you're starting to find out are no longer believed, and it's deconstructing your religious beliefs is a very hard thing to do.
Yeah,
it is. People will say you wasn't a true Christian. Okay, but I read the book. I sent you the verses.
right. Yeah. Do you have any?
That's a lot. We can unpack a lot, and we definitely need a second episode or something.
I mean, I think a second episode's warranted. We can circle the block.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that with conversations like this, definitely they can go for hours, especially when two people know their craft. And that's, for me, that's the thing. When two people know their craft and they know what they're talking about and they believe on their sides of their debates, this is what it is. I think these conversations could go for fucking hours, yo. But that's.
I'm just not much of a believer, so sorry.
Well, on that note, make sure you guys check us out on Patreon for more content from Keeping It Real with Shay and I, and the Blurred Trap House with Rich, Ty, and Jamal. So check that out for sure. In general, make sure you like, comment, subscribe on YouTube, and follow us on all forms of social media. We are on Twitter, we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we are on Facebook. Blurred Trap House just made a group, so if you want to be a part of that, let us know. They're keeping it private for now. I don't know why, but you can catch that invite.
Real quick, I can tell you why we keep it private, right? So we've already been challenged by people in opening the group and expanding it to palm-colored people or to those that are not of African-American descent in some form or fashion. And so I said, okay, we will try that. The reason for making this was to give those of African-American descent or something like that a very good place to go to where you can naturally be yourself and not be judged by other people outside of your race. Because we know that certain palm-colored people have black people in a box, okay? Where if you are not an athlete, if you are not a rapper, if you are not, something like that, then are you really black? And so I tried my best to keep as many people, whether they are black or white, like that without mindset out of the group. So it is by invite only, because then I would believe that the person that invited you would believe that you have enough decency to respect other people like that inside the trap house. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna let people of all
and be inviting no narcs to the goddamn trap house.
We're gonna let people of all we're gonna allow white people in. If you're Asian, black, blah blah, whatever, it doesn't matter. We're gonna allow you in the trap house, but you must be invited. You know what I'm saying? Not all white people can come to the cookout. It is what it is. You must be invited to the cookout.
That audio, social media,
and so
the clubhouse,
like the clubhouse is invite only. And it just stops random people from just joining the fucking group.
Yeah, that's the most important thing I think, because
just random people just seeing the group, click and join, and then like we don't survey them. They ain't fuck none of that. So
they trying to sell their products.
Only people selling products is me. So fuck out of here.
And we will kick you out if you trying to sell anything. We will kick you out.
They don't put up with any of that shit in the trap house.
We will put you out.
Come in, eat some good food, get some good laughs, and sit down.
All right.
That cocaine.
Well, until next time, guys, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay unapologetically black. Have a good night.